Hey gang, Allison Crow here, and oh, there's Sarah. Sarah actually was the one who gave me the idea to do this, and I am gonna do a little bit of live painting and see how that turns out. So let me flip my camera around. Welcome to you guys that are joining. Thank you so much. I would love it if you would share this. I'm still early in the Periscope world, and I am loving it. I was made for this forum. I love it. So thank you for my heart. One little heart floating up. Okay, there. Hey guys. So we've got 5 people. Someone is happy to see my face. That makes me happy. I'm here in my studio, and I think I've got this set up so that I don't know what the sound will do when I actually start painting, but I figured I'd kind of start from the beginning and share how I create some of my art. And hi Renee. Share some of my art. And so I am now a professional artist. I wasn't always. Hello back, Renee. I started painting 2 years ago, actually in July 2 years ago, and I hadn't really picked up a paintbrush in years, and thank you for the hearts. I hadn't picked up a paintbrush in years, really since I was a little kid, and I always said I wasn't an artist, and I got into numbers, and just part of my whole journey was rediscovering who I was. Well, rediscovering who I was this colorful, intuitive, creative goddess, this creatrix. And so I've been painting and painting and painting, and I've sold some of my art. I don't really paint it to sell it, but it certainly helps contribute to the funds that I spend on all kinds of supplies and materials, and I'm going to show you all some of those today. What else? Yeah, so what I have today, and what I have back here, if you can see, is actually a really large canvas that had already been painted on, but I hadn't really finished it. And so a couple things. So back behind this door over here, I have a couple of paintings just hanging out that are really not finished, but they're really large canvases. And then over in this corner, I have quite a few canvases. Most of them are finished. Some of them, I get to a certain point and then I stop, and I either, like this tall one I thought was totally finished, and I had an idea for it today. So I may eventually take that into something else. My husband just got home. Okay, so I'm using this little canvas I've been working on. This is just a little mini one that I was working on, so I'm going to use it to hold my phone in a little bit. But behind me, so let me flip that around. Flipping today. Okay, so behind me is, and part of what I want to share with you guys is how, if you don't consider yourself an artist, how you can begin painting. And I love creating abstract work, and I love making it easy for my clients. So I'm a coach who happens to create art, and I'm a coach. I've been coaching for 10 years, and the last couple years I just decided to bring the art into the coaching. So I'm not necessarily an art coach, but art is a great modality for our insights, for overcoming resistance, and thinking. I've had a lot of clients that were like, I can't create art, I'm not an artist, I'm not going to do that, and they end up creating pieces of work that they love. My sister was here a couple weekends ago for 4th of July. I painted with her and her kids, and she immediately went home. She hadn't painted in forever, and she immediately went home and turned her office into a studio, and they've been creating art because it heals the soul. And so what I'm going to share with you today is just some of the behind the scenes, so that if you want to get started on your own art making journey, that maybe it would encourage you. And it is a great modality to reach unprocessed ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Absolutely. It taps into the spiritual side of your brain, to the art side of your brain, to the right side of your brain, and we begin to lose the logic. I also like to paint with my hands. Sometimes I use brushes. I certainly have quite a few of them. When I'm painting smaller, I paint with brushes, but I love to paint really big, and I've been painting small. So for today, this little experiment, I pulled out this big ass canvas, and I decided to gesso it. So basically, I'm creating a new canvas, and you can see around the edge of it, right? So you can see the old, you know, some of the color popping through, and I wanted to do that on purpose. Instead of just wrapping around the edge. But you can always upcycle, canvases. So if you see some in a garage sale or see a painting in a garage sale and it's really cheap, then you can always paint over it. Even if it's, I had one oil painting that was probably worth something, maybe not, but I couldn't find the artist, and so I ended up painting over it. And it's in this sexy gold frame. That's kind of fun. Truth is Hers works with trauma survivors, and art helps them reach the trauma storied in their body. I have a client that this last week, oh, it's so neat. She has been doing some trauma work in her personal life. Hi, Soul Deep Well. She's been doing some trauma work in her life, and one of the things she came across was one of the personas of her little girl, and she let her little girl paint these amazing paintings, and it was interesting because they were beautiful and colorful and very abstract but they were a part of her healing, just to honor that journey. So yes, I have found that art is, and the other thing I love about this, hey Varian, so fun to see people I know. So the other thing I know about art is, or that I've learned about art, is that I love the process. And that's what's so funny all around my studio. There's tons of, hey woman. Yay, I love that you're here. That's so fun to see, like, people I know in real life too, and hopping on. So thank you. And no obligation to stay. This is probably going to be a little bit of a longer scope. You can come back later. Hi, Carolyn. 2 women from my coaches group, the group that I'm in as a client, are here. So that's kind of fun. The process, right? So this is just like life. And over the last couple of years, I have become less of a goal-oriented person. And I have learned to appreciate the process. And the mess is in the masterpiece, or the masterpiece is the mess. And the imperfections are actually what's perfect. And so combining these ideas and combining the things that art gives me access to has increased the quality of my life. It's increased the money in my bank account. It has increased just the way I connect with people. It has increased the fun factor in my life by a gazillion, million, trillion. And it's totally changed my business. It's really fun. I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't mean to incorporate art into my business, because I was primarily just doing business coaching and intuitive coaching and life coaching but even before I started incorporating it, it increased my clientele. Like, there was something that art brought out in me. It brought out more of an authentic me, which I think created more attractiveness to my clients. So this behind me is drying. And while that's drying, what I want to do is kind of show you some of the tools that I use. Let me take a sip of my drink. I normally drink wine, but I had a lot of wine last night. So I'm recovering today with the green juice. Actually, okay, so here's what we're going to do. To start, I'm going to turn the camera around, give you like the real life experience. Gotta learn all my tapping. Okay, so we're here in my studio. I'm sitting down right now at a table, but the first thing I want to do is I want to light a candle just to honor the space. And honor the spirit in me, and obviously the spirit of each of you that are watching. And if y'all have any questions, especially during this first part while I'm kind of talking, because at some point I'm going to get up and actually paint. But I want to honor the spirit that called me to start painting. And I want to remember the joy that paint gives me. Usually each painting I start, I have, I kind of dedicate the painting and I write words on it. And today I thought I would actually pull a card. Well, I got an intuitive hit. Hey, pull a card for the theme of your painting. And so I'm working with this Chakra Wisdom deck. I have tons of decks, but this is a new one. And of course I love it because it's rainbow colored and all the 7 chakras. And so I'm just going to pull this one right here. Instinct. The wolf. Interesting, I have a wolf circle going on right now. And so instinct. And that's perfect for this because intuitive painting is not about excellence. It's not about achievement. It's, I know, Carolyn, wolves, they're showing up everywhere still. And the Women Who Run with Wolves is about tapping back into the creative well and about recovering the parts of you that were lost. The bones of us get scattered, and that's one of the things that art has done. So I light my candle, I pull a card, or I do just a little meditation. This is my palette. It has a little bit of paint on it from what I was working on earlier. It's just a piece of glass. I used to use palettes or paper and stuff, and I finally got a piece of glass, and I have a razor that I just clean it off with. And I've got a handful of paints and things around, some stamps, a bunch of brushes, some other paints that I may pull and use from there. And so I'm gonna test my canvas is still soaking wet, but that's okay. So here's what I think it's gonna do. There's no mistakes in painting. Let me let's not get my pretty new chakra cards all painted on. Let me set these aside. So any questions so far or thoughts? Yes, I gessoed it, and then the gesso wasn't going very far, so I took an old painting. Carolyn, you may not have been on here then. I took an old painting and I gessoed it, except for the edges. So like I kept the edges. I don't know, I just felt like that was a really fun frame to have this canvas and the edges are there. So can you tell that I super color? All my paintings are just in full color. There's very few that have this around. Woohoo, back. Let's see if I can get it set up. Okay. And if I get you moved over a little bit, because I want you to be able to see. Now, one thing when you're painting, and if you have, so Fuzzies is where I go to church. It's a taco shop that we go to every Sunday morning. So I have tons of Fuzzies cups that hold my water. But if you're painting, be careful if you're drinking while you're painting not to drink pure painting water. It has happened and it's nasty. Okay, so let's see if I can, there we go. And so let me do a little sound test. If I'm back here, can you hear me, or does the sound quality go away? Woohoo, how's your sound quality? Yeah, got lots of loves. Okay, perfect. So I try to remember to wear an apron because everything I own has paint on it, and I have on, so wearing an apron can definitely help save. So one of the things I want to start out with, and I have a couple of paint pens. I bought these, I can't tell you the brand of them because it's in a foreign language. Posca. So intuition, and for me, intuition is really the color of the third eye. So I'm gonna pull that. I'm gonna pull this blue. Instinct. That was our word. Instinct. And then I'm going to tap in and just kind of feel what wants to come through me, or what energy I want to put into my painting or dedicate to my painting. So another one that comes to me is joy. You can see because it smears because the bottom is wet. If this were a dry canvas, it wouldn't do that. But that's okay. There's no mistakes. That's what I love about painting with acrylic paints and painting in this medium, is that everything can be covered up, and each layer in the process makes things super interesting. So let's see what else wants to come through. Instinct, joy. I'm getting the sense, and I'm going to change colors, I'm getting the sense of completion. I noticed that there are a lot of things that I don't finish, and I'm totally fine with that. And there are times when it feels really good to complete something, and I'm craving a little bit of that completion. And I'm going to remind myself that I am love. I'm dunking out my pens here. No, my pens don't like that at all. Okay, so since my pens don't like that, we'll just take some paint and do it. So sometimes I, especially if I want to write with paint, this is just a Liquitex heavy body paint. These Liquitex heavy body, just the way they are and the way they come out of the canvas makes it real easy to write. I am love. Now, none of these things you won't be able to see any of them. Yes, represents there is no perfection, but it's still 100% beautiful. Exactly. And that's what I love when I sit down and when I work with my clients on this. We just begin, right? And so that was another reason I wanted to do this, because for the past 2 days on Periscope, I've been thinking about what can I Periscope about? Nobody wants to see that. And I was like, that's just silly. Allison, just begin. So I'm just beginning today, and I'm going to experiment. So what I love about this is that all I have to do is follow my intuition and follow my intuition and start playing with, like, what colors, what shapes do I want to do. There's no right or wrong. I cannot mess this painting up. I cannot mess this painting up. You cannot mess your life up that bad. And so with that, what I want to do is I'm going to pick a couple of colors, and let's see here. So all-time favorite color is this quinacridone magenta. It's like hot freaking pink. And one of the things I like to do is create a lot of drips on my paintings. So a lot of times I just go straight from the bottle, and you can't really see from there, but when I take my handy little water bottle here and I start to spray, it starts creating some drips. And the other thing I like to do with these long ones is just drag my fingers through it. Something about the tactile, touching it all, even sometimes cleaning my hands and getting my handprints all in there. And so I have this other new color. It's like this light orange color. It's my favorite color. Super second chakra color. I like to get some of that mixed in with the pink, because pink is just so yummy. And normally, well, not normally, a lot of times when I'm playing with pink and orange, I stick a little white in there to lighten it up, but because the back of my canvas is still wet, oh, that's the other thing, just using like these full body sweeps and playing. So let's see, okay, hot pink, let's play with some hot pink. Woo. Finger painting. Technically, I guess I could let you know that these artist colors do have chemicals and pigments in them that you may not want to put on your skin. I don't have a problem with it, but some of them can be toxic. I'm not worried about it. Actually, I think I want to spray my hands, just get some of that off on here. Ooh, I picked up some of the green. Looks like the 80s. Okay, doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's fun to start getting something on the painting. And then, let's see, let's get a few more. So I I spray my completed paintings. Here, just going in here. Let's get a little bit more of this hot pink. Just go thick. I used to be worried about, because paint's kind of expensive, and I used to be really worried about, oh, I don't want to waste paint. One of my girlfriends who also paints was like, Allison, there's always more paint, and she's so right. So just letting gravity do. And then maybe from there, play around, turn the canvas, and as I turn the canvas, the gravity starts taking some of the color down. So I'm kind of getting a pull towards some blue up here in this corner. And I don't think I've ever applied paint like I just did. Literally, it's like, it's not a skill that you go and learn. It's just experimenting and play, and I love the feeling of the paint in my hands. Not everybody does. You can wear gloves if you want to do, protect your hands, but there's something just about, it's like being grounded, right? Being grounded in nature, putting your feet in the dirt. They say also not to really mix more than 3 colors while it's wet, because you can start to make what's called mud. So if you've ever been painting and it starts to look like mud. So nothing in my little pile there is pulling out at me. High five. High five. So do you really not have, I have no idea. Isn't that crazy, Marion? I really have no idea. I have done 2 paintings that I knew in the end point would be that way. So I did a painting, and actually the bottom layers were all like this. And anytime I create a painting, the layers always start this way. I did a painting of my dog, Lulu, when she died. My other dogs, I had put together picture books and albums after they had passed, and it was very cathartic. And I pulled out a canvas that I had already started on, and I took a picture of her, and I just kind of looked at the picture and created the outline. And yet it's a picture of Lulu that's very much in my style. So she is prints of her are for sale on Fine Art America, but she hangs in my house. So that was one time. And then another time I took a class from a coaching colleague named Whitney Freya, who does creativity coaching and spiritual coaching and stuff. And Whitney Freya has a class that you can buy online about like painting a Buddha and the energy of a Buddha. And so I knew that, so I followed her process. And what was interesting, I have a couple of videos up on YouTube. What was interesting about following her process was I found myself like trying to paint like her. And I got really frustrated halfway through, and I took the gesso and I started over. And I did my own Buddha, my style. And how, like, okay, so there's another lesson that art teaches us, right? So how many of us are out there, and there's various masters and experts at things, and they're trying to teach us their way. And Whitney's way is totally valid, and it totally works. And yet there's something that got stuck in me. And I guess it was like, I think it was more her colors that I was, following, and her I don't even remember what it was. I just remember feeling stuck, and then I was like, forget it. And I'd pick up the painting now and show you, but my hands are messy and I don't want to show you. But I ended up making this gorgeous Buddha goddess. So I made mine a woman, and she's like hot pink and purple and gold and dark like emerald green. She's all these juicy jewel tones. Oh, she's so gorgeous. And I had to give myself permission halfway through to stop and not necessarily start over, but give myself, like, tear off another sheet and paint over it. And so only those 2 times variant. Otherwise, I have no idea. It's funny, this little, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the phone, but this little painting, I don't want to stop the broadcast. I just want to. So this little painting is in process, and about an hour ago, I decided to circle, it was all the pinks and purples and oranges, and I decided to go in the areas that I really loved, and I just circled and made these little blobs around them, and I decided that I would make them flowers. Just circled all the little blobs, and then I outlined them with a little black paint pen. But I didn't know when I started that, and that painting has been sitting there forever, and I finally was like, I think I'm going to make this one flowers. And so it's not anywhere near done, but you can at least see that it's starting to look like something. So Varian and anybody else who's interested, the other thing that I do is, it's like when you lay in the grass and you look at clouds and you see, I don't want to stop my broadcast. Okay. Thank you, Carolyn, for inviting followers. I love that. So it's like when you lay in the ground and you're looking at clouds and you start seeing shapes. And so there's been times where I see shapes and they show up. But I think part of the permission about this is so creativity comes from the second chakra. That's where the energy starts. It comes from our spirit. And so just allowing myself to be playful about it. And in life and work and in business, we are so freaking intentional. And we're so spermy and go for it. Straight line. And that, I don't want to say that it nearly destroyed me because it's so dang dramatic, but it definitely, I was not well. Physically, emotionally, my marriage was strained. I was not following a path that aligned with my soul. And so the more that I was able to give myself permission to not go in a linear way, interestingly, the more I succeeded. Oh my God, thank y'all so much for inviting followers and for still being here, because I know this is a little long. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pop back into the painting. Let me see. Yeah, so it's sideways now, so it's a little bit longer. And I'm going to pop over here into my big thick paints. Another favorite color. I am all over the reds and oranges and pinks. And have been. And of course lime green. Lime green is like favorite color. And I'm really just kind of, I don't have any knowledge. Love the turquoise, especially with reds and pinks. I love surprise colors. Maybe a little bit of yellow. We'll see. Sometimes I love yellow, like how it looks in the, on the tube, but when it gets on the canvas, I have a real hard time finding satisfaction. And there's a difference between finding, someone said they were told I was a natural. I think we're all natural at this. And really the only thing is we just have to give ourselves permission to try. And I can tell you about so many people. I had one girl, she was so cute. My very first, I took a group of women to Tulum, and just as one of the days we were going to do intuitive painting. We did a lot of other things, but we were going to do intuitive painting, and she was so funny. She is fluent in Spanish, and so she comes down to paint with everybody, like we're meeting to paint, and she was like, I will negotiate all your business stuff in Spanish, but I am not effing painting. And it was so funny because she was really resistant to painting, and yet she went home and started painting with her teenage boys. And their basement is now their painting studio, and they have family painting night, and they do this stuff. So that was the other thing too. The guys love it. My husband has sat down and painted with me. My daughter, who's 19, has sat down and painted with me. My sister and her kids, my clients, my neighbors want to come paint with me. And so it's really just about giving yourself permission. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this video, is because I want to give you permission to pick up a canvas. If you don't have gesso, get white acrylic paint. It works just as good. And start painting. So let's see if we can add some more layers to this baby. And really, I'm just looking for something that zings with me. And so I'm actually going to go yellow and see what happens with that. Ooh, that's fun. Get a little love energy in there. So the other thing that you can do is you can use stencils and spray paint. I use spray paint sometimes. That's really fun. You should spray paint outside. I do it inside, but you know. So anytime you put, you know, I believe that everything is energy, that everything carries an energy. I believe that symbols carry energy. I believe that expressions. I believe, so when I put love, you can't really see that it says love because it's yellow, but I put love into my painting. And I'm putting the love that I'm feeling from you guys, that I'm not all alone doing this. And it's so different because when you're on YouTube, you're all alone doing it, right? So thanks, see, and the love hearts, thank you for that. I just learned the other day, if you did not know this, I learned that the hearts are actually, whatever color they are, that person's little face is tinted that color. And I've also noticed that, like, when I'm on other people's, my face color, the little tint changes. So, ooh, I love all the hearts. They make me feel good. So let's play a little bit more. Get some of this yellow in there. And really, this first part is just about getting the canvas colored, getting rid of all the white space. Fluorescent orange. This is feeling really bright. And then I have another, this violet color. I'm holding my hand up because unlike an easel kind of leans back and catches your paint, but when I'm painting on a totally vertical surface, we've got lots of juicy paint here. Pulling some of that out, and then I'm gonna get back my water bottle. My spray bottle is a pal. And really, just creating marks, mark making on the page. Now, so I'm sitting here painting, and this is kind of how it happens. I just had this flash in my mind, grab a brush. Okay, we're gonna grab a brush. So this one comes to mind, and this one. So this, when I first started, I bought really expensive brushes. I took one class, and on the list, she recommended getting these super expensive brushes. And they're all right. There's sometimes when I use them, but the style of painting that I do, there's these cheap brushes from Michaels, these little blue tipped, like super cheap, and I have tons of these. And so you don't necessarily have to spend tons of money on supplies. I will tell you, buying a quality paint, in my mind, I think there's some people that would argue this, but I've seen it time and time again, that when you buy the quality paint, so I use Golden and the Liquitex professional grade. They are more expensive, but the pigments, as you can see, look at the pigments, you guys. Holy cow. And so if you use the, I have a bunch of them, but if you use the cheapos, this is one of the cheapos, basics, they don't blend as well, and they're not as vibrant and bright, and you can have kind of a muted painting. So I got my hit to use my brush. I'm gonna get it wet. Oh, and then the other brush that I got, this is just like a little rubber brush, and it makes marks. So let's see. So really, I'm just filling, okay, so see, it's making like this mauve color because it's picking up the white on the back of my, it's picking up the white. And I'm just gonna follow that and see. It's not the most gorgeous color up next to these things, but, so this is like life. Okay, this is really cool. So I get this color and it looks kind of gray and blah. It's not terrible. It's actually a custom made gray. And so the custom made gray is when you mix colors, they seem to be a little bit more interesting than just straight out of the bottle. But as I'm painting, I'm thinking, ooh, I don't want that gray there. And what I love is this is just like life, right? So if we can paint our lives, how many times do we have something where we go, ooh, I don't want that. And we don't really have to gritch about it, and I don't have to sit here and moan and groan about the gray. I could just start, well, so I know that I want to change it. The first question I ask myself is, I don't even ask it, what do I want it to be? I just ask myself, what do I need to do to change it now? And so I know that if I keep digging in that spot, if I keep doing the same thing I've been doing, I'm going to get the same gray over and over again, right? Just like life. So if you keep doing the same thing, if you bump your head on the wall and you keep bumping your head on the wall, you're going to get a bruise. And so I know that I want to let that dry, and I'll probably cover over it later. But I figure that out by asking myself, what can I do to shift it? And then as I come to it again later, I might start to think about what are my desires? What do I desire it to be? Because I don't desire it to be gray. Or who knows, if I let it sit for a little while and I come back and I get a new perspective, what if the gray is perfect and magical? And so I'm just going to trust the process, right? And what I see people do, and there's been times when I've done it, if I'm not necessarily painting in the right mode, where like I just get frustrated and irritated and things like that. But it happens in life. And so what is it, the saying that says a problem can't be solved at the place that it was created. And so I'll walk away from it. So I'm going to walk away from the gray for a little while. And I'm going to walk away from that brush because, and maybe that's the thing, maybe Spirit just wanted me to show the example of following your intuition. And by following that, I was able to share that lesson with you guys. This little brush just creates texture in the heavy paint. So another thing I love to do is some of these stencils, especially these stencils that have, this is a triple spiral, which stands for the energy of the divine feminine. And let me see what color I want to play with. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my canvas back around. And so, like Varian asked earlier, do I ever know what I'm painting? No, I don't even know which side is up yet. Hold on. In my old house, so here I have stuff protecting the floors. I have 2 or 3 layers. I have plastic around the edge because we have really nice hardwood floors, and I'm painting in my house, flinging paint everywhere. And in my old house, I knew we were going to move, and before we moved, I knew we were going to recarpet and paint. And so I just painted up on the wall and let it drip on the floor. It was awesome. Okay, so these, I am going to use a big chunk of this turquoise. So I just blobbed a bunch out. And I am going to get another brush. Let's see. When you're stenciling, it's good to have a brush that has a flat end. I don't know where all my brushes. There, I guess I'll use one of these. Oh, here it is. Okay. So that's one of the reasons I like these, because I can kind of just jab them down, loading up my brush pretty good. And if you just poke up and down instead, if I sweep like this, it tends to get under the edges. Pull that away. So I love that turquoise. And in a minute, I'm going to do a couple more, and then I'll give you some close-ups so you can kind of see how yummy it looks. Reach. Every once in a while I worry, I'm like, you think they're bored watching this? And then I heard someone say the other day, like they watched some girl put on makeup for 3 hours. Oh well, to each his own. And so I've just done 2 of those. Yeah, you have hundreds of stencils. I have lots of stencils too. I tend to stencil a lot with my clients, but when I'm doing my own paintings, I don't stencil as much. So I like to do these in triples. If I make a certain mark, I tend to want to do things in odd numbers. I like asymmetrical balance, just what my heart sings with. Okay, so there's that. And then the other thing, I want a little bit more of this blue up in here. I'm gonna do a few more drips. And then I'm gonna do some close-ups and show you guys some close-ups of the paintings. Or of the marks. Okay. Are y'all having fun? Are you learning anything? I wish you were here with me painting. Making a mess together. I love to do collaborative canvases. Okay, I'm going to use this filthy hand and pick up my iPhone. Okay, let me show you guys some of this. It's so cool. Double tap. Okay, like that could be a painting right there. I just love the way the colors mix. And so that's what part of this is. Like you pull back in life and you stop to appreciate what is working. I'm not going to worry about the things I don't like. I'm going to pay attention to the things that are working. And so, oh, hello, the little spirals. I even love, like up here, see how the old part of the old painting is coming through and coordinates? I love this pink and green up next to each other. I love this white smush in here. This is kind of interesting, this vivid orange and purple. So those are, they're opposite each other on the color wheel, so they tend to look real good next to each other. Some of my intentions are still showing through the bottom. Haven't gotten there yet. There's my lovely patch of gray that I will address later. Oh, okay, I love this. I love how the turquoise, lime green, and fluorescent yellow showed up. Just so fun. It feels so youthful, and it's interesting because one of the things I'm noticing about some of my other works is some of my other paintings, because they didn't have, so my background when I started was wet. The white was wet, and so it's made everything a little bit brighter because the white is coming through. Whereas if I start with a dry canvas, it's not doing that as much. And my other paintings are really dark sometimes just because I don't have a lot of white in them. And so I think, so here's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I'll probably work on this one painting. So this is like session 1. I'll back up and then I'll turn around and talk to you and show y'all. So that's session 1, and I'll do this in a couple, because it takes a long time, not to mention this is a really large canvas. But I'm feeling good about where it's sitting. I feel good about how I've played. I'm starting to find my my feel good is dropping, and so I'm finding that my feel good is starting to stop. And a lot of times we're taught to push through that kind of stuff. I don't roll that way. I follow my feel good. And so when you're intuitive painting, if I'm finding my energy level drop, either I'm getting tired, just intuitively I'm coming to a resting point. And what I love about this is that I never have to finish a painting in one sitting. Like I said, I mean, this one painting I started over a year ago and I have just now picked back up again. And so that's the other thing. We don't have to live this linear life. We can slow down. And so I appreciate you guys being here. I'll take any questions if you have any questions or thoughts or comments or anything you learned today. And then I'll pick back up the next couple. I'll finish this painting at some point, but I'll do it through scopes. I think we'll see how that works out. And you can see the progression of this painting, how right now it looks like nothing. It looks like nothing, and I trust. I know. I don't just trust. I've tested. I've practiced this. It is a practice. It's like getting up and doing yoga or meditation, and I'm certainly not perfect. But giving myself permission to not know where I'm going, giving my permission to pull over at the side of the road, to clean up my studio for the evening, and I will tell you, one of the things that I do, especially if I'm at this point, let me double check. Yeah, okay, so I have one really big glob of turquoise paint left, and I don't want to, not that it would be wasted. And I could do a number of things. I can put this on another canvas. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the one we're working because I just love this color. But sometimes I have a whole empty canvas that is like my cleanup canvas, and it makes lots of interesting textures. So I'm just going to give this some goodness. And then that way, wipe my hands on the wall. That way the last little bit of paint has been used. So that concludes this Periscope. I see that Renee is still here. I'm not sure who else is still here. If you're actually still here and paying attention, let me say hello to you. So I saw Renee was here still. Lots of hearts. Carolyn, Soul Deep Well. It takes me a second to register when it's not someone's name. Parent Skills just joined. We're just finishing. Ah! You can see we got sort of there. I'm going to do like a, I don't know how many part series, because otherwise these would be really long, and intuitively I'm getting the hit to slow down and stop. So thank you guys so much for coming. Parent Skills, maybe watch the replay. Thank you for showing up. I love painting. I love sharing painting with people, and I love sharing the lessons that come in the painting. And it's been an honor to share my studio. I don't get to share my painting. Normally it's me, and I like to listen to Bollywood music while I paint. And so yeah, with that, peace out. Let's do one last thing of hearts. Hearts make me feel good. I love it. Thank you. I wish I could give you heart bats. Renee, thank you. Thank you for staying. Renee was here the whole time. I love it. AllieCrow@gmail.com, or you can tweet me at AllieCrow if you have any questions about painting or supplies, or AllisonCrow.com. I have an art tab with lots of my paintings that I've completed that are up there. Love you guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.